So, general election tomorrow. So Keir Starmer has said he plans to clock off at 6 o'clock every Friday night if elected.
Yes, so we went out about Birmingham to find out what people there thought of that.
Still moving around, and you can't just have a break because you feel like it or you want family time. There's jobs that have got to be done for me.
If it's part of the role of the job and you expect it, but if sometimes it's not expected, you deal with it as an adult because you're an adult, and that's how we deal with things, yeah.
I think if you're at work, you're at a workplace. If you're working from home, you're working from home, but you work office hours.
Well, what do you think? Do let us know. GB
Depends
News,
what your job is.
gbnews.com/you'll say. Yeah, we were just wondering what job you'd be allowed to clock off early.
If you stack shelves, then you don't expect to be working extra time or, well, unless you're paid for it, whatever, but it's all a quid pro quo. Journalist and playwright Emma Burnell. We say good morning to Emma. And there is political commentator Ben Cope with their views to share on this. Well, Ben, what do you say about working over the weekend?
I think it's perfectly reasonable that in certain high-performance jobs that you are expected to go above and beyond every now and then to achieve the kind of outcomes that would be expected of you. I mean, you guys would both know from your careers in journalism, you've got to where you are, you know, partly because I imagine when a producer calls or an editor calls, you know, when you've already clocked off or when you're on a day when you're not necessarily expecting to be working, but when they call, when a big story breaks, you answer the phone and you would have come into work. I think that most people would recognise that if you get to a certain place in your career, it will be because sometimes you've demonstrated a flexibility to really go above and beyond and get the results that everyone should expect.
Isabel and I are doing extra on Friday, Emma. We're here when we don't have to be, but because the general election has been called, we see it as our duty to be here and bring that news to the public. Where do you stand on this?
I mean, I think these attacks on Keir Starmer are ridiculous and pathetic and desperate and everything that the Tory party's campaign has become. Look, he is carving out family time, and that's a good thing. We want people to be able to spend time with their families. In fact, Rishi Sunak himself said it was the thing he most admired about Keir Starmer. So the idea that this is some sort of attack that's going to turn things around rather than just leave the Tories as we found them, scrambling about, desperate and just classless. I just find it really ridiculous. In terms of the rest of us, look, yeah, sometimes we do have to work long hours, but we actually have a real serious productivity problem in this country. And we also have a long hours culture. So it's not the case that expecting people to work over their hours is actually helping us with our levels of productivity. In France, we're endlessly told, oh no, be careful, we might end up with French-style working conditions. Well, they have higher levels of productivity with those working conditions.
Ben, what do you make of that?
Well, I think if we're talking about France, I'd bring up America, who has significantly higher productivity than France and has a much longer working hours culture than both France and the UK. I mean, as for the specifics of this sort of Keir Starmer carving out some time, you know, I totally understand that having some family time is clearly, you know, important, you know, both to the individual, but also ultimately to their sort of productivity at work. However, I think the timing of this announcement is simply insane. You know, why would you announce that you're going to be sort of doing something that some could consider shirking sort of 2 days before an election? We heard from the clips from the members of the public you just spoke to there that people like their politicians to work hard for them.
Yeah.
You know,
what do you think, Emma?
Well, it wasn't an announcement. It was a discussion on a radio programme where he was asked how he relaxes. And that he relaxes with his family and, as we all know, playing football. Fine, that's what most people want to do. Keir Starmer's demonstrated that he's like the rest of us, and I'd rather have someone like the rest of us than someone completely out of touch.
Is it different, though, Emma, when you're leading the country? Is it different when you're leading the country, though? Can you still play five-a-side? Can you still have Friday nights off with your
I think he's probably not going to be able to play five-a-side for security reasons, which I think he'll find desperately
Well, he says
sad.
he still wants to. That's what it's saying in the papers.
I'm sure he still wants to. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a party to the discussions the Met Police are having, but I can imagine him getting bodied on the field. Might be a bit more complicated if you're Prime Minister. But in terms of spending time, his family will be living in his office. Let's not forget that. So going upstairs at 6 p.m. to have some time with his family doesn't stop him being able to be there by the you know, I think mythological red telephone if he needs to be drowned into a high level discussion.
Look, it's interesting you're arguing this, Emma, because, you know, there you are as an actor and a playwright and whatever. You've got to do unsociable hours. You've got to be available when the work's available. Sometimes you'll work, sometimes you'll not work, so you've got to take it while it's there. Sure. So hours don't come into it for someone like you. I do believe, you know, a fair day's pay for a fair day's work, though, I do believe.
Eamon, as a director, I'm always really conscious of giving my actors proper breaks because I don't get the best out of them when they're exhausted.
But what about you?
Scratch. And yeah, those breaks happen for me too. We leave the room, we have a lunch break, we have breaks in the afternoon. And I get the best out of people that way. I'm a freelancer. I work the hours that I am contracted to work with any individual client. Sometimes those work hours will be at difficult times. I was working last Thursday evening until about 10 o'clock. But that was my choice as a freelancer, not imposed on me by an employer expecting me to work above and beyond my contract. And far, far too many employers are expecting us to do that now without proper recompense and
Guys,
without...
Thank you both very, very much indeed. Very good hearing your arguments. And it's got people talking who are listening and watching at home. Thank you both very much indeed. So there you go.